Hi and welcome to Thrive, the podcast about family businesses from the Jonga Group, where we look at the good, the bad and the ugly of family business life. Today you have Rich Quelch, our Chief Marketing Officer, behind the microphone, and he is interviewing Stewart Pavers, the chairman of Pavers Shoes and the Pavers Foundation. It is an incredible story. I particularly like the way the business was founded, so look out for that one. But get a coffee, sit back and just enjoy the next half an hour or so. This is a brilliant interview. I will see you on the other side.
Well, welcome, Stewart, to the Thrive Family Business Podcast. This is the second one for me after interviewing a fantastic business in Leeds. Let's just get straight into it. I mean, we're sat here at head office at Pavers Shoes, just on the outskirts of York. Just give us a bit of an overview of Pavers Shoes and the history of it, because me doing a bit of my own research, it's an interesting business and a fantastic one at that.
Yeah. It was started by my mother in 1971. She had been to party plan parties and not been able to buy stuff at these things, so she thought she could do it better. Started a party plan business, had a number of agents and a couple of stores, and was doing really, really well. So, and she introduced footwear into the mix, which was unusual in that time, because she always had uncomfortable feet, and therefore thought she would again be able to do it better. So, she started it. It was a difficult start because the bank refused her £200 loan to start her business, but they then said you can have it for a settee, and she never bought the settee but got the loan, and that's how we started.
Right, okay. So what inspired, now we're sat here because we're at a slightly different angle today with the podcast, because we want to talk about the Pavers Foundation. So just give us an understanding around how that came about from Pavers Shoes to now where you are now in terms of heading it up.
Yeah, we'd always had an interest in philanthropy as a family, and when my mother died, it seemed like we could use some of the inheritance and some money from the company and form a foundation which would give back to things that interested the family, things that interested the people that work for us, and really sort of build a sense of community around doing good and giving back. And intrinsically, a third of the money that's given away each year goes to causes that the family want to give to. So that really brings together the whole family and the different generations, because it's all sorts of interesting things that mean something to them. Yeah. And then the rest of all the money goes to things that colleagues bring us. And so we have a committee that allocates the cash. Twice a year we get 100 plus applications per committee meeting. Wow. For causes that mean something to all our colleagues, and that can be anything from hospices where they've had a family member, to a football club, to seriously ill children needing specialist equipment and things. And it's all about something that means something to the individual that works with. And what you find is that when somebody applies for something, it really makes that shop feel connected to the centre, because it's really difficult finding connection between 180 locations. So this really brings people together and makes them feel part and valued and able to do something in the community, because for most people, raising £1,000, £2,000, £3,000, £5,000 for something that means to them is really, really difficult. But they apply to us, they give us the reason why it means something to them, and it allows us to do those great things.
So are we saying, so obviously there's 180 stores across the UK and Ireland, are we saying that the local communities to those stores have the ability to go to store and ask and potentially apply if there's something that affects them from a social impact side?
It's more about the colleagues.
Right.
If they can go in and talk to a colleague and they think that's brilliant, but we also judge what their involvement is.
Yeah.
Because what we want to do is make the most difference with every pound we spend.
Yeah.
Which is just a business way of thinking about it, but I think it's really important that we don't waste money, because so many organisations waste money
Yeah.
when they're given too much money, they're spending too much money on different things, or they class spending £5,000 on going on a table at a nice evening do as giving £5,000 to charity, where the charity's actually earned £50 out of it. But they've had a great night and drunk loads of champagne.
Yeah.
To me, that's not charitable giving.
Yeah.
So we're very much focused on making the most difference with every pound and it really meaning something. And there's extra benefit where one of our people's involved. So there's lots of food banks that come to it that are introduced to us by colleagues. There's lots of things where they spend their days off cooking for homeless and just getting food to be able to cook is a problem. So helping out with those things is absolutely making a difference.
And how, just out of interest from a business perspective, the culture of the business and the people that work here, what is that? How do you drive that through the team and through the actual employees in the stores, that this business actually has a massive social impact strategy that, you know, they want to do good, profit with purpose type style? Is that explain your culture and how you can attract the right people?
We're very much just a family business. Very few layers, very few airs and graces. We're just a family business, and everybody can talk to everybody, and everybody wandering around the stores. Everybody asks me, could you do Secret Boss? And I said, no, because I can't walk into a store for more than 30 seconds before somebody knows who I am. So it's like...
You put a wig on and some glasses, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think they'd still recognise it. It's like... so it's... Yeah, it's just that nice family business where people are more than just a number. We're not looking that every cent has to be maximised. It's about how we create a business with longevity and, as you say, social impact, and still makes a profit, and the family still wants it to be a viable business, but give some of that back to people.
Yeah, amazing. It's a really great story, and the model that you've got is similar to obviously John Good Group and the Matthew Good Foundation. How do you, when you grow, and obviously son taking over, how do you maintain that family feel and we walk the shop floors and everyone knows each other, there's no layers? How would you potentially plan for that to not lose the essence of the Paver family?
Well, I think the foundation is a big part of that, in joining the family together and all those disparate stores and everything else. It really helps create some cohesion because you're trying to do the best that you can, and people recognise that because they all know you don't need to give away. So far over the 5 years we've given away 2.1 million in donations, plus there's still more money within the foundation from the dowry, not the dowry, the money that was invested from the inheritance. So it's just keeping those things going, keeping the basic principles is that of making the most difference with every pound.
And that to me is amazing. The fact that there's a business here that actually is a really successful family business and it's UK wide, and the ability to have an impact on micro communities across the country, it's something to be very proud of. Even just sat with you in the office before this, I was in awe of what you were telling me.
Well, when you see the difference small amounts of money can make in different situations. We've worked with Lepra, the leprosy charity, for a long time, and we did some mobile shoe factory vans for them going around leprosy colonies in India. And we went out to see them, and we'd worked with them on the costings and everything else, and they're basically making custom-made orthopaedic sandals for about £6 for these people, because they might have one foot that's 3 times bigger than the other with all the toes dropped off and this, that and the other. But they're able to sit there, make them and fit them. And one woman we met had spent 2 years being pushed around in a cart because she had so many ulcers on her feet and everything else. And after £12, which is 2 pairs of sandals, she was taking her kids to school, going to the market and everything else. And you just think that life's been transformed for £12. So it's where you can make that most impact with the money, and making sure that it goes to the right places is really important to me.
That's unbelievable. So that's an international thing rather than just a UK thing.
Yeah, it depends, because that's been one of the things that I've been involved with, and was originally approached by one of the guys from India that was studying at the Communicable Diseases in Liverpool, and came and said, we've got this project, we want to do something like this,
Right.
and we helped them form the idea and sort of moulded it to what was practicable.
Wow. The Pavers Foundation's got a diverse range of causes and it supports. How do you decide as a foundation where to go with it and where to concentrate on the areas?
It's health, education and community.
Right.
But that really encompasses nearly everything that you can think of. So we try to be as flexible as we can be, and see what we can do to fit those things into those categories.
And you also talked about potentially sponsoring a football team, I'm guessing children's football teams, etc.
Yeah, we'll pay for the kits. We generally don't act as the main sponsor,
Right,
but we'll
got
pay
it,
for the
yeah.
kit and things.
Yeah.
So, because obviously there's a lot of people that work for us that are involved with kids and have their favourite little club and things. So yeah, it's we probably get 5 or 6 applications each time for.
Right.
It might be football, it might be a dance club,
Yeah,
it might be all sorts of things, but it's like just
So there's potentially there's other initiatives that you get involved in that don't necessarily have to be charitable, but something linked to health, I guess, because it's active and
it's mental health's a big one at the moment. So we've seen the number of applications for sort of mental health charities, or like Andy's Men's Club or things like that. Just they're going through the roof at the moment, as well as food banks.
Right.
So it's over time what the demands sort of change and vary, but
but you're there to help and support. Here's a question for you. Can you name a memorable project or an impactful story that really resonates with you and really stuck with you when it's linked to the foundation? And I know there'll be hundreds, but there's any particular?
There's hundreds. It's so difficult because each one is really important to somebody.
Yeah.
So pulling one out is really, really difficult, because it's where you just make a difference and that's it, really. It's there's literally thousands, and you read through all the applications and everything else, and you think, that's amazing, that person's made such a difference in South Wales because they've gone out and we've given them £1,500 and they've managed to cook like 5,000 meals. And just this, and then there's the little kid where you've ended up buying a specially adapted stroller because they can't go out without these things, without the sort of head protection and everything else, and you think they're getting outside and into the fresh air because we've been able to help and things, and it's just making a difference where you can.
You must wake up in the morning and think, this is an amazing position to be in, and have the purpose that you are driving through the stakeholders, essentially, internally and externally.
I wake up and think, I'm glad to be breathing, really. It's like, still breathing. So it's a great thing. I love doing it, and it gives purpose, and it's just one of those great benefits of growing a nice business, is that you can do stuff. But there's lots of studies about how people that give back and companies that give back are far happier than the people that buy the biggest yachts or whatever else. It's like so it's just a great part of being able to do it, is that it actually makes you happier and more content.
It's a good point, really good point. One thing that's really stuck with me, and I kind of knew the story before coming to see you today through Steve, but can we just touch upon some of the phenomenal work you're doing in the Ukraine? I mean, I sat with you 20 minutes before coming in here, and I don't want to put you in an embarrassing, but I'm in awe of what you're doing. Can you just give us a bit of a feel of what you do at the moment for the cause within the Ukraine?
So we started off in Romania with a white van and no plan. Within sort of 12 hours, we had the van filled up with medical supplies, and we were taking them to the border. We met lots of people. We got introduced. I contacted a BBC journalist that was there, and she introduced us to a number of people. Started to work with them. We started to work with the main military hospital in Odessa, which was like 3 hours drive across the border. And in the early days, nobody was getting supplies, hardly.
Right.
And they were going, we need adrenaline for the operating theatre. And we set up a supply chain in Romania with one of the wholesalers, and we're able to pick stuff up and get it across the border to them within sort of 8 or 9 hours.
Wow.
So getting that supply chain in place and doing the things that we're used to doing at work is sort of what made the difference. And we were able to, whether it was adrenaline, whether it was insulin, because people were having their legs chopped off or dying because of diabetes and things, and there was none in the hospitals, we were able to set that up and get that organised, and it worked really, really well. We used to get a military escort from the border, so we skipped all these queues and these security things, but they drove like lunatics because they needed the stuff, and it's like we just went round blind bends on the wrong side of the road, and just it was ridiculous. But since then, that sort of supply chain has got a lot better, so the hospitals get the stuff and bits and pieces. There's a big shortage of frontline tactical medical, so we've taken a load of tactical medical stuff out, from tourniquets to Celox, which is made in the UK, which you basically pour into a bullet wound and it stops the bleeding long enough to get you to a stabilisation point. And just loads of things like that. And it's always about listening to the demand, working out the sources, working out what's going to make the most difference. We've delivered a mobile operating theatre, delivered recently 42 brand new ventilators that we got out of the Nightingale hospitals here.
So repurposed, which is always a good thing.
They would have cost about 250,000. We got them for £10,000 and then took them across. And because of the people that we work with and the value of what we're taking, we don't get charged transportation or anything else. We get it taken in for free. And then I was in Herson 6 months ago delivering those ventilators, because when you're delivering stuff and when you're working with people in foreign countries, you really need to meet them, to understand them, to make sure it's all getting to the right places and that it's not being diverted. So being there and working with them is really, really important. You make connections, you make friends. So we delivered all the stuff into Kharkiv one morning. We had 7 air raid warnings because they come through on your phone. And then nothing happened. And then just as we left, we were 40 minutes out of town and 5 half-ton bombs landed on the city. And it's like, timing's everything. So, and it's just, so we've been all round the front and bits and pieces, and it's, you just feel sad for the civilians there and the troops really that mostly don't want to be there. They really don't want to be there, but they're forced to defend the country.
And if you don't mind me saying, you're quite, how you talk is quite blasé. What you do for what you do, your own little bit you do for the Ukraine. I say a little bit. You've setting up supply chains into the country. What mindset have you got to go and know for, well, you've left a town and 40 minutes later 5 half-ton bombs have just been distributed onto it?
I'm very good at compartmentalising things, and it's like we've gone in, done our stuff, we've come out and nothing's happened. So 40 minutes is irrelevant really. But the people living there are having to live with this all the time. I'm just in and out, and you go to places and it's fine. It's like there's a risk, but it's a quantifiable risk, and you can just do it, whereas people are having to live there all the time.
Yeah.
And you can see the effects on their mental health and everything else, that just living under that constant fear, even when you're away from the 14 hours drive, they still get hit by drones every so often.
Yeah.
Because one of the customs point that we used a lot 2 days after we left got blown up in the night. So, but that's 1 day out of 976 in the war, and it's a 10 minutes where that would have affected you. So it's a big.
You definitely do compartmentalise everything. Amazing, really.
Yeah.
So when are you planning to go back out?
Yeah, I'm back out in about 10 days' time.
Okay, wow.
So
anything particular? Any sort of?
We've just delivered some specialist military ventilators that we got from the States, which, because when you're working on the front line, you can't have oxygen cylinders, so you can't use a standard ventilator, so you have to use a specialist one. And these things save lives every day, basically. So we've managed to get 10 that we're taking out.
Wow.
Well, they should be there in the next few days, and then we'll go to make sure they're getting to the right places. We've also got a big list of stuff for a new battalion that's been trained by some of the people that we know. And they basically don't have enough tourniquets, they don't have enough stuff, but they're still saying, let me just check what's the most important. And it's like, it's as with everything, finding where that sweet spot is about value, what we can add, because one day it's, they'd love this, they'd love that, and then it's, well, actually it's more important that we get this. And some of it, we've delivered lots of specialist stretchers which are draggable, because they're saying the other stretchers are fine, but you need 6 people to carry somebody out.
Right, yeah. Wow.
Whereas most of the positions you're fighting with 4-6 people, so you can't spare 6 people to take someone away.
Yeah.
So these things allow one person to drag somebody. And I was speaking to one chap that had been dragged 3 kilometres on one out of Advika before that fell. That was a place I did refuse to go to in Ukraine. It was surrounded on 3 sides by the Russians and had been for about 9 months. And one of the medics said, can you bring the stuff into here? And I'm like, no. I've seen that on a map. I'm not going in there.
Yeah, wow.
So,
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Wow, just unbelievable, really. And thank you for what you're doing. I think it's just an amazing thing, and you're very humble, which comes across massively. And I think it's just amazing what you're doing. And it's when you were telling me in the office before, I was mesmerised. So we appreciate everything that you do individually as well as the team that you meet out there. Coming back into the foundation and the work it does, sustainability rings a bell quite strongly within the foundation. Could you talk us through that?
We were one of the first large retailers to go carbon neutral on, is it 1 and 2? I think so. We were quite proud of that. I think.
How did you achieve that?
It's basically through a lot of work and also buying carbon credits for the last part of it. Just to offset those things. We're installing solar on everything that we possibly can do at the moment. I really don't understand a government that allows people to put huge solar plants on farmland and stood next to an Amazon warehouse of 300 fields that doesn't have solar on top of it. And to me, it's like, we're getting a 20-25% return on investment on solar that we're putting on top of roofs. So why wouldn't you do it? Why would you have money in the bank and not be putting solar somewhere? But there seems to be a whole sort of PR campaign against modern technology, whether it's solar, whether it's EV cars or anything else. And it's like, I couldn't possibly have an EV car because, mate, one day every 3 years I go 250 miles. Yeah, it's like, probably not a big problem. It's like, Yeah, what do you do most weeks? Yeah, about 40 miles.
Yeah,
It's like, well, you'll get 5 weeks out of your battery. It's like, yeah, but it's as if that EVs don't work, and it's just strange that people believe the whole hype that somebody's paying for somewhere just to stop the development.
Yeah, the air of doubt.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's like, but the whole world's full of people that don't know anything telling everybody what's going on.
Yeah. So carbon neutrality is a really big achievement. So it's, and the fact that obviously you produce shoes essentially, and to have that as part of your culture and your values is unbelievable, really. And have you done anything around your supply chain?
Yeah, we work with the supply chain to. We've replaced all the boxes to reduce the amount of inks and everything else. Yeah. We've used recycled on everything now and all that sort of thing. So it's a gradual process through the whole thing, but it's just, as with everything, trying to make things better one step at a time. Yeah. You can't change the whole world, but you just make little incremental steps and it starts to help. Yeah. We've been working with Loughborough University to try and help out on footwear recycling. Right. And there's a professor there with a small plant that shows it can be done well, but it's just trying to help with the commercialisation and scale of it. So,
are we near?
We're near. There's a big fight between he wants it for the good of the people, and all the people that want to put money into it want it for the good of the company. Yeah. And it's really just how you balance those things together so that you're doing the most good. And we've had numerous discussions about how you can frame that, but it's a delicate negotiation because you need the money for it to happen, but you also want the most good to come out
of the back end of it. Yeah. Wow. So, well, I'll keep my beady eyes on that one. Talk to us about the Pavers Foundation forest.
Oh, that was my brother. My brother had some land, and we thought it was a good idea to plant a forest. Again, it helps with everything, and but it was also nice to make it as a sort of community asset for the local junior school and things. Brilliant. For them to come and do things in it and build an adventure trail in it and just all that sort of thing. So yeah, it was a really nice little project.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Okay, good. So talk us through then carbon neutrality. There's a lot of social impact there as well. How do you measure that, and how do you report that out to the external stakeholders as well as the internal employees as well?
We're not as good at it as we should be, and it's something.
Why not?
Because it's a lot of work.
Fine.
So, and it's something that we're starting to build on, and we've done some work with the B Corporation, and they've given us a number of things to start to report on, and which will begin to have an impact.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And do you want to be B Corp accredited?
Possibly. It's something that we've looked at and worked with them, and we agree with a lot of what they say, but not quite everything. So
fair. And there's no mean feat. You've got to go through a lot to be able to deliver that status.
Yeah. So it's good. It's as with some of it's more box ticking than real initiatives. So it's always balancing the two out.
Yeah. So looking forward and ahead, what for you as the chairman, and more so around the foundation, what's your aspirations over the next 5 to 10 years? What do you want it to do? Where do you want it to go? I mean, it's doing an amazing amount now, which is unreal, really. But what's your aspirations for it?
Again, it's just keeping growing it, keeping to the principles of doing the most good with every pound that you've got, and there's not one specific measure to that, but you know the things that are wrong, you know the things that he shouldn't be doing, and if anybody ever says from the family that we want to buy tickets for this, we said, well, that's not the purpose of it, and it's keeping to those basic principles of doing the most good with the least amount of money, and expanding the reach and just helping as many people as possible.
Yeah. Okay. So good. And from a foundation setup, what would you give advice to other businesses who are looking to potentially set a similar thing up, which allows them to have that social impact over the coming years?
I'd say to anybody thinking of doing it, do it. It's a great thing to do. It ties family and colleagues together, and will generally make you happier. So it's well worth doing. Yeah,
and you are right. Like you say, buying a yacht, or actually a business that actually has impact and social impact across their own stakeholders, you tend to find that they're...
Well, there's always somebody with a bigger yacht, and so it's about being sort of content, and this sort of thing allows you to have a bit of contentment and think that you're doing a little bit of good.
And probably one of the last two questions around is, how do you go about telling, I guess, the country around Pavers Foundation and what it does and what it means, or is it just a kind of an organic thing within the employees? And because it's a phenomenal thing, so I'm being selfish now and I'm trying to encourage how do people get to know about the foundation versus the...
We're not particularly keen on too much PR and too much messaging and too much aren't we good. We prefer to just get on with what we do. We regularly communicate with all the colleagues so they know what we're doing. We're going to, as this year goes on, much more spread the message around how much we're doing in each area. Because it's all right saying, we've given this amount, but for somebody within a store, it's like, what have you done in my local area? And so much more localise it.
Brilliant.
And spread the message that way.
Final question. How does it make you feel in general when you're managing the foundation? Obviously you transitioned to chairman now from Pavers Shoes. How does it make you feel?
Big question. It's like there's so many different dimensions and so many different compartments, I suppose. So with the transition from MD to chair, I'm very lucky in having a very sort of talented son to take over. He proved himself outside the business and has come back in and does a great job. Different job to the way I did it, but then that's probably not a bad thing. And as you grow and change and develop, things change. So it's interesting. The foundation obviously makes me feel proud, but I'm much more about just getting on with things and slowly improving things and making the most difference you can.
Well, amazing to interview you. The stories that you have, the impacts that you're having personally and through the foundation. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion as much as I did. What more can I say? What a business. What a story, and what incredible work that business is doing to make social impact in the way that it sees fit. Two big standouts for me. The first is just what a humble and honourable man Stewart is. The way he talks about his business, some of its achievements, very low key, very, very humble, what a character, but what amazing work they are doing. What a business leader to have within an organisation. That was a massive standout for me. Delivering impact everywhere he goes, whether it's within the business and the product range, whether it's with the foundation and some of the initiatives it supports, down to taking personal risk, delivering goods and services into Ukraine. I just thought it was a fantastic story. The only other area that I'm going to comment on, because so much of it was so good, was I absolutely love the phrase, and I'm going to read this out so I get this absolutely right: doing the most good with every pound you've got. I love that sentence, and I think it's the perfect mantra for any business that wants to do impact socially, environmentally. I think that's a perfect way to live by. The most we can do with the minimum amount means we will drive impact. And Pavers are certainly doing that with Stewart and the team. I hope you enjoyed that listen just as much as I did, and I look forward to joining you on the next podcast. Until then, guys, look after yourself.